Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a transformation partner at The Ready, and I'm excited to be coming to you today to answer one of the very clever and interesting questions that came from our newsletter readers. So thank you in advance. Here's the question I'm going to answer today. We are constantly balancing tension between the priorities we have to deal with today, more operational and tactical, and more strategic priorities. The strategic priorities are really important: efficiency, new capabilities, scale, etc. But they require change, and it always seems difficult to protect time and move them to the top of the list. Any tools or suggestions to help us make sure we make time for strategic work? So here's where I want to start. Let's look at what strategic priorities even are. When you say strategic priorities versus your day-to-day tactical priorities, what do you mean? Well, the way that we answer that question at The Ready is that we see strategy as an act of deciding. So strategic priorities are things that we do our best to decide. And in a fast-changing environment with high uncertainty, in which most of us are living and working today, what you're almost always doing when you're doing strategy is you're using the imperfect information that you have available to you to make some hard decisions to enable focused and coherent action. So that's what strategic priorities do for us. They help us enable focused and coherent action across whatever unit is doing the planning, whether it's a full organization or a team or a specific project. And if strategy work is being done well, it should be leading to focused and coherent action all the way down your organization and all the way down to your day-to-day work. So what you describe, we have day-to-day priorities that are tactical and operational, and they're taking up a lot of our time, and we're not leaving room for our strategic priorities. I immediately have a bit of a red flag. Maybe there's something going on with the way that you're setting your strategic priorities or organizing around them that's keeping them from coming to life in your day-to-day work. So let's explore that a little bit more. We all have things that we do day to day that are probably not going to change regardless of what your strategic priorities are. But if these things are taking up so much of your time and space day to day that you don't have time to do anything that you'd consider strategic, I think probably your strategy work hasn't served you. So when our day-to-day plates are too full of things that we don't consider strategic, it's highly likely that there's something going on with those strategic priorities that we talked about. So maybe they're not clear enough. Maybe they're not narrow or specific enough, meaning they don't actually help you make those day-to-day decisions or figure out where you want to put your time or your resources. Maybe they're not clearly shared or understood. So maybe they've been set at some level somewhere, but at certain corners of the organization, they're not actually influencing people's day-to-day work. So their day-to-day work is getting filled up with other things. If you're a senior leader, if you're sort of at the helm of the organization or a large team and you're experiencing this, here's what's probably going on. It's probably the case that you maybe haven't created a set of strategic priorities. So like I said earlier, like you just never had the space or the opportunity or the knowledge to do that work. Or you've set those strategic priorities, but you just sort of put them on the shelf. So you went through the activity of doing some strategy work maybe once a year. It's in a binder or it's in a PowerPoint deck and you never looked at it again. So they're just not serving you. You haven't committed to them. Or maybe you did do the work to set the strategic priorities. You know what they are. You're excited about them. You're motivated by them. But as a senior leader, you haven't done the work that you needed with the design and the structure of your organization or your team for them to actually come to life. So this could look lots of different ways. Like you didn't appropriately resource those strategic priorities. You didn't have the right amount of people or time or money invested in those priorities. Maybe you didn't get clear about what you're going to say no to. So often when we have a set of strategic priorities, it means we're putting other things down, which we're making. Remember, strategy is about choice. So maybe you actually didn't do the work that you needed to do to figure out if we're going after this is what we're not doing. And if you're someone who's in the middle or on the front lines of your company and you're experiencing this mismatch between what the strategic priorities are and what you do every day and how you fill your time, there could be other things happening. One is just what strategy, right? Like a strategy was made and set somewhere above you or in a boardroom with a bunch of consultants in suits, and it just never made it down to you. Or maybe the strategy was shared with you and you know what those strategic priorities are, but there's something missing. Either you never received the help to understand what not to do, what to put down, what to deprioritize, Or you were told what to put down and deprioritize, but you actually never received that air cover, right? So there's something that you're like, I don't actually trust that I can not do this thing and not get in trouble for it. So let's get to actually your question of what are some tools or resources that we recommend. A couple of suggestions. One, if you do use a one and done approach to strategy development, either your team or your company or your organization, meaning you take a stab once a year or so with a small group of people with limited time or limited space to really sense the internal and external landscape to develop your strategy, I highly recommend trying to shift into a more iterative approach to developing your strategy. What I mean by iterative is you're doing strategy work more frequently and looking out over a shorter time horizon. So what's happening is you're frequently picking your head up, identifying the priorities, the things that feel most important. Again, it's a choice. You're choosing to go after these things. And then you're setting some short-term outcomes that you can steer towards. It makes the strategy just a lot more tactical and a lot easier to operationalize. Another thing that you'll really need to do to make this iterative strategy rhythm approach work is build in retrospectives. So you hear us talking about retrospectives all the time. The only bad retrospective is no retrospective, and that applies here too. So let's just like play this out. You're setting some strategic priorities in December as you're planning towards quarter one. You come back together halfway through quarter one to retrospect how things are going, and you hear from each other consistently that the problem you identified, hey, like the day-to-day work is swamping us. We're not able to focus on this thing that we set out to do. I am absolutely sure that that conversation is going to force you as a team to explore what's happening in your operating system that is leading to that. So maybe the priorities are wrong. Maybe you're like, hey, we said we were going after this thing, but we're halfway through the quarter and we're realizing it's not, that priority is not what we should be going after. Either we're hearing from our frontline workers or we've got data that shows that it's not serving us. So maybe you're changing the priorities, but maybe the priorities still are right. And there's work you need to do to bring them to life, work you need to do in your operating system. Or maybe you'll learn that there's things about the way that you're teaming or that you're structured that's blocking teams from actually being able to go after those strategic priorities. And they're just getting bogged down in whatever that day-to-day work is because of the way they're structured. They're not organized around the work appropriately. So you might learn that you might want to make some changes there to allow you to free up the space you need to go after the priorities. You don't know what you're going to learn, but the act of setting the shorter term horizon for strategy work and then really building in that time for retrospecting and putting your head up and saying, are we doing this well or not? Is this working or not? Is going to force you to make the changes that you need to make in your operating system to keep those priorities front and center and actually clear the deck of the day-to-day work so you can appropriately work towards them and go after them. No, in your question, you did tell us that it's hard to find the time to protect time around your strategy work. And here I am telling you to put more time into your strategy development process, more meetings, more rhythms, more spaces. So I want to acknowledge that. But really, you acknowledge in your question that these strategic priorities are important to you. And I'm assuming you're already creating the time to make them and set them. It sounds like you have them and you know what they are and you know what needs to happen with them. And so if you're already dedicating time to do your strategy work, why not be all in and really make it work for you? Make that time work for you. We talked at the beginning about strategy as a decision. Being strategic is also a decision. If you want your strategy to serve you, if you're already putting time into setting it, you're probably spending some political capital in your company sharing it and getting people enrolled or excited about it. So don't short shrift it. Give it the resource that it needs to serve you. And I think that we know, you acknowledge it in your question, the resources that it needs is time. And again, my best advice and what I've seen work is to fuel your strategy, fuel your strategic priorities by creating a rhythm around it over the course of a quarter or a half year or a year that you really hold sacred. Often that tension between the most strategic work, our strategic priorities, and our day-to-day work and getting our day-to-day stuff done, it sort of is a false tension or a false binary. It might feel super uncomfortable at front, but the truth is good strategy and really clear priorities that throughout the whole team or the whole organization, help people make decisions every day about what they are going to do and what they're not going to do, that should create more time and space in your team or your company to do the right work.